So I have a diary now. Hi, hello. Name's Alice, pronounced she, they. The second name is pronounced Maria, with Spanish phonetics and all that. And today, which just so happens to be the first day of this video log diary thingy, I, wanted to explain the why of this. And also just talk about bad art a little bit. The main reason I'm beginning this is to just have a transition timeline. I recorded history of what I was thinking and doing at the time. Currently, I'm 5 months on HRT, and I thought it would be a good idea to do this. Growing up, I didn't exactly have an awful lot of role models that were trans. I didn't know any other people like that, and I didn't really have any idea what a trans life actually looked like, a transition. And nowadays, with the internet and YouTube and all that stuff, I don't know, I guess I was inspired by the trans diaspora. There's a bunch of YouTubers now, a bunch of people that are similar to me in that sense, in the sense that they're non-cis, that just do all kinds of content, from big channels to small channels, and I wanted to join in on the fun because I find it to be inspiring and quite grounding. Nowadays, the times are not that great. While I don't live in the US, I do live very near it, and it's very dismaying seeing what's happening there every week. And seeing other trans people on the internet and in real life is a good way to be grounded, to be reminded that progress does not have a linear relationship with time. We've been through worse and we'll make it through this one. And in the specific case of timelines, of transition timelines, I kind of wanted to showcase that also. And to have this as a record of how I grow as a person, and to make it a little bit harder to knock me down, I guess. And yeah, so I'm pretty thankful for all of the people that I've been able to see in real life and online. And for this video stuff in specific, I'm pretty thankful to Nix. She's the one that gave me the last push I needed to actually start doing this. So thank you. And also, sorry, these videos are not going to be high quality. My phone is pretty old, and I'm currently sitting on top of a desk in a part of my room that was meant to be a closet. I don't have a good space to record. I noticed that quite late. I was thinking about doing this, and I opened my big mouth about it before I realized I don't actually have a good place. So you're gonna have to deal with that for a bit. This week I'm gonna try and figure out maybe if I can have a setup on my bed, which is that way. But I don't know. Anyways, on to the main topic. Ignore what your Gregorian calendar says. Today's Monday. Barak Monday. I was late. I forgot to record this yesterday, which was supposed to be yesterday because May 4th was the 5th month anniversary. So I'm a little bit late, but that doesn't matter. I wanted to do this little sub-series within the blogs of Barak Mondays to just, it has two reasons. The first one is that I just want to create a little space where I can showcase my art without worrying much about quality or just in general having standards. And to also just put a fire under my ass so that I actually do stuff every week rather than procrastinate on it or unravel into perfectionism and end up doing nothing. And the second reason is that being trans in our society tends to make a lot of people repress themselves for a lot of time, and especially with things like shame and whatnot. And it shows in how we treat our hobbies. I've seen a lot of trans people, including myself, just not do things out of shame or treat their hobbies as if they needed to be professionally made every single time, instead of just doing things and enjoying the process. And part of the series is to maybe encourage that it's okay to make bad stuff. Because ultimately what I value in a piece is less the rules and measures that are passed and reached, but rather the intent, the why a piece was created and the process that went behind it, the emotions. I think that's what makes art valuable. And I want to promote that, I guess. And with that said, I forgot one thing. Hold on. It was this. This is the first illustration I made, or rather a recreation of it. This is the Rose of Versailles, a shoujo manga about like 2 weeks ago. It was originally published in the 70s, and it was totally euphoric, just buying girls manga. Pretty nice. But yeah, I did that illustration at the time of recording. I only have the sketch. If I have time, by the time you see this, you will have the color and line art. And I had fun with this piece. It was very lighthearted. I did it in the spur of the moment. And I think that shows in how I did the lines. And I learned, or rather internalized, a little tip that I had been struggling with for a while, which is that with drawings, especially cartoons, you're not looking to create a reality, but rather create the illusion of a reality. If you zoom in an old painting with a tree, you're not gonna see leaves. You're just gonna see splotches of paint. I have a hard time visualizing that. And drawing this was a little bit illuminating on that. The rose petal that you can observe at the top doesn't make an awful lot of sense. That's if the camera wants to focus. Roses don't really grow like that. I'm gonna put up an image. Roses don't grow like that. They don't make sense, but if you look at it from afar, it looks like a rose. It feels like a rose. And it gives the overall image the composition the author wanted. So that's one thing I learned from that. The second drawing that I made was a little anatomy exercise of the measurements of the human body. I knew an adult was about 8 heads tall, but I didn't know exacts. And now I kinda do. I still struggle drawing them in poses and whatnot. But that's more of a problem with my fundamentals with perspective and whatnot, rather than an understanding of what a ruler is. I dress them up in little clothing to make them look like two characters that I'm workshopping. The designs are still quite unappealing, and I didn't finish one of them, didn't have time. But yeah, their names are Sigma and Epsilon. You'll see more of them. They are part of a larger project. The third thing that I did this week was a puzzle, and this is the one that was the most elaborate and the most difficult, definitely. I learned a lot about game design over the last month. Here's the first version of that puzzle, and here's the current version, properly zoomed out. As you can see, it's a little bit of text, a clue, and then just a door. Figure it out if you want. It's lots of people are not really into puzzles. That's fine, but yeah, I've been workshopping a lot over the last month and a half, which was about the time when I began doing this. And with this exact version, this is version 3 of the original puzzle. It's the first one I ever did. I learned how to do better renders of paper. As you can see, it has a little bit of texture, and the text I tried to make it like it was typewritten. So with one of those old typewriters from the 60s or so, the ones that still had the ribbon with ink, not the ones that use polymer film. Because the ones with ribbon with ink, I was given an inconsistent look. Each letter, due to the fact that pressure could not be distributed evenly, each letter sometimes had more or less ink, and they will give you the stereotypical typewriting machine look. I tried to recreate that. It didn't come out the greatest, but it's way better than the flat colors I used to do before. And when it comes to the door part, I learned a lot about shading. It was still struggle a lot visualizing how light has to work, but I tried. And with the splashes of blood, which you will see a highlighted version of the layer. It's the first time I've drawn liquids like that, and I had to redo a lot of it. As you can see in the log, it has a bunch. I tried to make it have some perspective, like on the LED panels, it goes down, and when it passes on to the next one, it does a little bit of jump before it splashes on the screen again. And on the outside, since it's meant to be a drop that falls, it gets interrupted by the buttons I put to, and when it falls off the lock into the door, it has a little bit of a gap. It's very basic stuff, saying it out loud, but I did struggle visualizing it. And when it hits the door, it loses most of its horizontal momentum and starts being slided against the door thanks to gravity. I try to leave a little trail there. And yeah, that's kind of what I did this week. When it comes to drawing stuff, obviously I did all those other things, much more boring. But yeah, these images, in case you want to actually try solve the puzzle, are gonna be uploaded to my Bluesky. It's much easier there, and you can actually zoom in and stuff. But yeah, and pardon the awkward pacing and cuts. I keep stumbling over my words. That isn't even struggling with English. I do that in Spanish too. Whatever. Part of the reason why this video was off the cuff was because I want to see how much I improve at actually improvising and being a little bit more natural. I recognize my body language is very rigid, and that right now I'm not emoting an awful lot. I'm gonna try and improve that tomorrow. It's gonna be a video about a book. That's a book I wanna read rather, and maybe a video. I don't know. A video that I watch. I did try to do a script on this Christmas dog notebook. Just for a page, and it was just the intro until the video logged everything apart. Everything from there was improvised, and it's very noticeable. I don't think anyone was doubting that. Anyways, I'll try to upload 3 videos a week. At the very least, it's not possible for me to do 7. The maximum will be 5, I think. I don't know. It depends. But yeah, I'm gonna shoot for a minimum of 3 videos a week, maybe 4, for the first month, and see how I like it. It's pretty crazy to think in a month I'll already be half a year into HRT. I'll talk about that stuff some other day. But yeah, thanks for watching this pilot episode, and I'll see you tomorrow or after tomorrow. Bye bye.